Hello there, welcome to the Marketplace. As we celebrate the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Day, we'll take a look at some of the trade and economic policies that he proposed that remain relevant today.
We must begin to build immediately our own continental common market. For it is easy for anyone who studies the Common Market Organization closely to realize that the common market is aimed at harnessing the African countries to satisfy the profit loss of the imperialist bloc.
We revisit Nkrumah's dream of a single African market as we explore considerations for a fair trade. Also, Ghanaian travelers who are fully vaccinated with a verified COVID-19 card can now travel to France. We hear from the French ambassador to Ghana, who also sounds the alarm on the rise of visa fraudsters. And later, what will make one leave a well-paid job in the United Kingdom to start a solar panel installation venture in Ghana? We hear the story of one such man who's lived 20 years in the UK. We have all these coming up in this special edition of The Marketplace. To stay.
Hi, this is Lexus Bill, host of Drive Time on Joy 99.7 FM. Listen, you don't have to worry if you miss Drive Time or Personality Profile. It's going to be live on our podcast page. Just log on to www.myjoyonline.com/podcast. You can listen to Drive Time, Personality Profile, and any other of your favorite shows on Joy FM on that page. You don't have to miss a show at all. Joy 99.7 FM, radio for discerning listeners.
Hello and welcome. Ghana's first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, entreated Africans to consider a common African market or risk what he termed the invasion of the continent market by European goods. Now, some 60 years later, with the political unification of the continent still a distant prospect, efforts to launch the AfTA have so far been successful. With a $3.4 trillion market, the words of Dr. Nkrumah still resonates with the drafters of this common market. Take a listen to Dr. Kwame Nkrumah addressing an African assembly some 64 years ago.
We must begin to build immediately our own continental common market. For it is easy for anyone who studies the Common Market Organization closely to realize that the common market is aimed at harnessing the African countries to satisfy the profit loss of the imperialist bloc and to prevent us from following an independent neutralist policy. It is easy to see that the imperialists and the colonialists are determined to retain the African countries in the position of suppliers of cheap raw materials. If we do not resist this threat, and if we throw in our lot with the common market, we shall doom the economy of Africa to a state of perpetual subjection to the economy of Western Europe. This will, of course, hinder the industrialization of our young African states. It is impossible to think of economic development and national independence without possessing an unfettered capacity for maintaining a strong industrial power. The activities of the common market are therefore fraught with dangerous political and economic consequences for the independent African states. The organization constitutes an attempt to replace the old system of colonial exploitation by a new system of collective colonialism, which will be stronger and more dangerous than the old evils we are striving to liquidate from our continent. This is another reason why we should come together in a unified African economic plan, which, operating on a continental scale, can make a solid attack on the imperialist domination in Africa. We should, without delay, aim at the creation of a joint African military command. There is little wisdom in our present separate effort to build up and maintain defense forces, which, in any case, would be ineffective in a major world conflict. If we examine this problem realistically, we would ask, which single African state could protect itself against an imperialist aggressor? And how much more difficult this would be when some states are allowing the imperialists to maintain bases on their territories.
Let's bring in trade expert and Executive Secretary of the Ghana International Trade Commission, Frank AGYEKUM. We're grateful that you could join us on this holiday edition. Are we actually living in Nkrumah's dream of a common African market?
Thank you very much and good afternoon. At this moment, yes, we can say we are beginning to live in Nkrumah's dream, because the idea of the common of the Africa Continental Free Trade area is to make sure that African economies and trading systems are well integrated in a way so as we are able to leverage on our markets and on our systems for the benefit of our people. If you look at what is happening in Africa today, where trade among African countries is just about 15%, whereas between Africa and Asia and Europe and the US is getting between the 30% and 60%. So it tells us there's a lot that we have to do. And so it's better that we are starting now than starting late. Yes, you could have done it like 60 years ago, but that wasn't possible. So now that we've started, it means we are beginning to be on the good track. And I think it's a good thing for all of us to get on board the AFTA train and then push it for as far as we can.
Great, but even if we take a closer look in the import of what he was trying to say, his view of a common Africa is Pan-African in its own nature. He considers engagement with European counterparts as risky. Well, that was then, 64 years ago, but can that apply now, considering the matter of globalization in trade ties?
Well, I'm sure Dr. Nkrumah had very good reasons for the proposals he made. Don't forget, we just come out of long periods of colonialism where the colonial powers had not been so kind to us. They've not been friendly to us. We've got to go through very serious periods of subjugation and deprivation, all sorts of things. So breaking free then, it makes sense for us to try and look more into our own, to see how we can protect our own and how we're able to progress our own. So now fast forward to today. I mean, in this, and of course, in those days, don't forget, we have a continental system, a world system that was balkanized. So we have the East and the West. And the two sides were hardly talking to each other. If you're in the Eastern Bloc, you try to do more with Eastern matters. If you're in the Western Bloc, yes, you go to the Western side and did capitalism and stuff like that. So for him, and at the period in which he was, it made a lot of sense for Africa to also look deep into itself and see how it can begin then to come out of its total emancipation. Because we couldn't get a total emancipation unless, of course, economically, we had been able to get out of that colonial quagmire in which we were. Today, we are into globalization, as you rightly said, and we have moved on. The African Organization of African Unity itself has changed its name to African Union with more emphasis on economic development. So it stands to reason that the times have changed, and I'm sure if Nkrumah has been alive, he would have changed as well. So we are at the right times, and the period in which we are today. You look at the crisis in Cote d'Ivoire that has brought about the emasculation of the ECOWAS, in the sense that how do we go about it when economic sanctions itself on Cote d'Ivoire, on Mali, may not be that biting, because Mali does a lot more trade outside the continent or outside West Africa than with West Africa. So that if we had a fully integrated economic and trading system, then of course it will bite much harder and much more deeply for whatever sanctions and whatever corrective measures the ECOWAS wants to put in place will be put in place. So it's the time now, and I think that Africans we should congratulate ourselves that we have been able at this stage to get after going, so that we have a sort of continental marketing unity and trading system and economic system in the offing. We have just started, and it's going to take time. Don't forget, the EU started a whole time long ago, exactly. But as we speak, not all of the European countries, for instance, Switzerland is still outside the EU in terms of its marketing policies, instead of monetary policies. So it would take time for all of us, of course, and UK, of course, recently did opt out of the EU altogether. So it will take time for us to get where we want to get to. But I think the right steps have been made and the right steps have been taken. And so we should encourage it, and we should all do what we can to make sure that it succeeds. Because really, 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 we have no option but to make sure that the continental free trade would succeed.
Great.
Africa on its own, as Nkrumah said then, and it's true now, we cannot be able to stand on our own and compete in any meaningful way with the world powers. The only way we can make our voices heard economically, politically, socially, is to come together as one force, and then we're able to then compete with them on any level that is appreciable for us to move forward as a continent and as a people.
Great. 64 years ago, of course, Dr. Nkrumah was so much concerned, Frank AGYEKUM, about remnants of imperialism despite, achieving independence. And we're talking economic imperialism here. Now, fast forward till now, we haven't same remnants, but this time around matters regarding unfair trade practices. How do we iron out these issues and ensure that all the member states partaking of the continental free trade at least streamline fair trade under this common African market?
Well, I believe on the onset, what we should look at is how we are able to integrate our markets and economic systems to ensure that we are fully integrated in terms of free, safe trading practices. I'm afraid it's an art of trading. Don't forget that trading and economic prices are in some cases war. The stronger powers and whoever has a way will try as much as possible to find a way to undercut the other. For us as a country and us as a continent, what we need to do is for us to be aware and awake to some of these things and make sure that we stem them wherever it is. To ask that African countries all of a sudden begin to engage in very safe practices in terms of trading is difficult. Even though that is desirable, the important thing for us to do is to have the watchdog, as we have it here in Ghana, the Ghana International Trade Commission, which really is there to check on some of these unsafe trade practices.
All right.
Don't forget that even between Europe and America, there are still unfair trade practices going on. And we know that between America and China, it's almost a daily affair between China and Australia, between Europe, and so it's all over. It's a way that people will use to try and maximize their profits and make sure that the receiving country does not gain as much as possible. So we in Ghana, it's good we have the International Trade Commission going, which is set up to foresee and to forestall some of these things in order to make sure that our nascent industries are able to grow and to be able to compete on an even keel with their foreign counterparts. Don't forget that liberal trade does not mean unsafe trade. And unsafe trade means that we should be able to protect our own and make sure that our own is able to survive for our own good.
Frank AGYEKUM, we're grateful for your submission there, especially as we mark the anniversary of Dr. Nkrumah there, understanding once again his part of the continental free trade, which he made reference to 64 years ago.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Away from that, the cost of living and doing business in the country could be going up in the coming months. It follows the recent increase in fuel prices on the market. But is there anything that can be done to better manage the situation? We have more in this report. Fuel prices have gone up by more than 2% per litre over the past week. This is in line with recent development on the international market that has seen prices of finished petroleum products go up. But most market watchers say the development could affect transport fares, especially for those that are not under or part of unionized operators in the country. This could lead to prices of foodstuff going up on the market. The Ghana Statistical Service recently cited recent increases in food prices, foodstuffs, as one of the reasons that contributed to inflation rate hitting 9.7% for the month of August. The adjustment could also lead to an increase in the cost of doing business, which may end with most of these firms passing on the cost to consumers. If the current development is not managed well, that could see inflation rates go up, a move that may also affect your investments and even cost of credit in the country. We, however, are not sure whether that may force the Bank of Ghana to hold or increase the policy rate, which currently stands at 13.5%, a move that could help check the rising inflation in the country. Now, what will make one leave a well-paid job in the United Kingdom to start a solar panel installation venture in Ghana? For Nazir Ali, who has lived in Europe for 20 years, a successful life goes beyond an individual's achievement. Helping Ghana grow its power supply needs is one of the legacies he wants to be remembered for. JoyNews' Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin engaged Nazir during one of his installation exercises at Old Tafo in the Ashanti region and has come through with this report.
And my name is Nazir Ali Chelenon. I have lived in Germany for over 9 years, where I did electrical engineering and also worked in different sectors within the German setup, including NXP, which is sister company to Philips. Did some kind of electronics there and moved to the UK, where I studied radiotherapy and oncology and worked in different hospitals.
Nazir Ali is a German-trained electrical engineer. But as the saying goes, you never know what you have until you abandon it. So Nazir did.
Basically, I'm a trained electrical engineer in Germany. Way back, I abandoned this because I thought it was a dirty job.
In 2010, Nazir left Germany for London to study radiotherapy and oncology at City University, London. He was then employed at Pole Hospital NHS Trust in Dorset and Singleton Hospital in Swansea, Wales, where he treated cancer patients for over 6 years.
And worked in different hospitals, which is the NHS, the National Health Service, that's in the UK setup. Treated different cancer patients, from brain to head and neck to chest, including like different cancers of the thoracic area, lung cancers, then the stomach cancers and prostate and all that, the gynaes. That has taken me over 11 years, so a minimum of 20 years abroad.
But while visiting Ghana, Nazir rethought the greatest challenge facing Ghana is power supply, and so he had to return to his engineering profession. Nazir returned to Ghana in 2020 to start his solar installation business with just £10,000.
I realized that power is basically what we need. Nothing moves around the world without power. So having this background knowledge in solar energy, I decided to build this on an own property because of the power shortages and fluctuations in Ghana.
Though he is yet to make profit, Nazir believes things will improve over time.
On the average, we get about 7-8 requests, and we end up having like 2 or 3 being serious about it. Why is this the case? The problem is that the initial cost is always very high for many people.
I asked why he left his lucrative job in the UK to install solar panels in Ghana.
Why this and why not in the hospital? I thought working in the hospital in the UK, there are a lot of colleagues who would do this without me. But in this solar, Ghana is lacking a lot of technicians. And this is one of our, part of our responsibility, that when you go outside and you learn something, you need to come back and make it useful to the Ghanaian community.
I asked again about the capacity of the facility.
It all depends the capacity, because we have a 1 kilowatt system, 2 kilowatt, 3 kilowatts, 5 kilowatt and 10 kilowatt systems. We have recently installed a 10 kilowatt system in Accra, and it's in the range of about $15,000, which will be huge for some people, but you are talking about 30 years without thinking of any power shortages or any expenditure on energy.
Nazir has some challenges.
Being at the roof is one of the challenges, a big one. Another challenge is that each roof is different. You cannot plan ahead. And the sizes of the panel, each has got its different dimensions. So you have to plan, come on top, take measurements. Meanwhile, you'll be fighting against the slope.
Nazir is looking forward to training the Ghanaian youth to be self-employed. But Nazir says he is still in love with his radiotherapy profession.
In that sense, I cannot abandon radiotherapy completely. In my own ways, I'll be educating people in terms of breast cancer, cervical cancer, prostate cancer, and the likes. People to take care of themselves and all that. That's another thing. The aim here is to train as many people as possible, so when people become independent, I don't always have to be on site. I can only be directing so that I can still practice radiotherapy.
A report by Mohammed Nuruddin.
Living the Ghanaian dream indeed. But before we leave, Ghanaian travelers who are fully vaccinated with a verified COVID-19 card can now travel to France. We hear from the French ambassador to Ghana, who also sounds the alarm on the rise of visa fraudsters. She says that fully vaccinated Ghanaians can now travel to France in this regard.
You can travel to France if you are fully vaccinated and you have a card with a QR code. Then you can travel to France with just a visa and this card. If you are not fully vaccinated, then you still need a laissez-passer, which is you need to present a compelling reason, and a really compelling reason to travel. Then you explain, you give the documents to explain this compelling reason, and then the decision is made in France and sent back to us whether they consider it is a serious enough compelling reason to travel. And then you will need a PCR test less than 32 hours to be able to go to France. There's no quarantine, I should think, or is it? I can't remember, because the rules are changing regularly, so there can be a quarantine, but I think it's a self-quarantine. But ideally, being vaccinated really helps. Then when it comes to visas, of course, people haven't traveled for almost 18 months, so they have delayed their task or whatever they had to do, and they had business to do in France, and now everyone is rushing for visas, so we're a bit overwhelmed, and there's a big delay because we are just humans, so we cannot welcome more than 30, 40 people to do our job properly every day, to take the documents and then process them back in France, and then print the visas, call them back. So it's a big process.
So when can we see most of these backlog, filled out?
Oh, I think now that it has started, and probably thanks or because of Touch of France, that has created an appetite for France, we will have every year 7,000 to 10,000 people who will want to travel, and that's a good thing. But wherever you go, when there's a visa, you have to know that there might be some delays. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to recall that the only way to apply for a visa is online on france-visas.gouv.fr. If you don't write it down, go to the French Embassy, Google French Embassy in Ghana, and then you will find the link to this very website. That's the only place you apply for a visa.
And of course, you're making this announcement in the back of increased, visa fraudsters around, around the country. How much of this is a concern to you, especially when we're having cases with the Schengen visa?
We have cases every day. Every day. We have two types. Some people who have been unfortunately trapped by an agency who said, don't worry, I will organize the visa for you. And they provide false documents, and then when they arrive here, we look at the documents. We work closely with the Ghana police and Ghana immigration, and we say, I'm awfully sorry, but your bank statement is false, or your insurance is false, and we have to deny it. And because it's a Schengen visa, it is worth for 26 countries, but of course the 26 countries are connected. So when you are denied in one embassy, you will be denied everywhere. So don't try that. Don't go for agencies. Go apply online, and it's free. The application is free. So do it online, and then respect very scrupulously the documents that are requested. Then you will be called for an appointment. The appointment is to be made through VFS. Okay. This is our partner. Every year we do a call for tender, and we take the best with the best price, because the ones who will charge the least to organize the appointments, so that people don't pile up in front of the embassy and wait until the rain and eventually said, sorry, we're closed. So they organize the appointments so that people come to the appointments, because we need to take your fingerprints and to take your documents. And then everything goes into the machine and it's processed back in France, and France gives the go or no go. When we receive the agreement, it unlocks the printing of the visa, and so we print the visa, stick it on your passport, call you to come and pick it up. So the first kind of frauds we have is false documents, very often provided or suggested by agencies, who on top of that will charge you, because they will say that they know perfectly well the embassy, and it could be part of a travel agency. Oh, don't worry, I will handle the visa. Do not run away. Absolutely run away. The second possibility is false visas. Just copy, completely fake visas, but then they get stopped and arrested at immigration at the airport.
So, I mean, I've spoken to other embassies and high commissioners, and of course they've made me understand the fact that there's specific, reasons to travel: education, health, or to visit your loved ones. Is that the same case with, your country as we speak?
Education, health, family, business. If you can show that if you don't go, you might lose an important market or an important job. We really study case by case. But it has to be compelling. It has to be, well, funerals, of course, and sickness of someone in your family that you have to attend. It's a case by case. So, I mean, save the hassle. Get vaccinated, get your card, and you won't be asked for any compelling reason. You'll be able to travel. If the regulations are not changing, because we have to adapt the situation of COVID, if we have a fourth, I can't remember which wave we are in now, a third, fourth, or fifth wave, of course we immediately have to take serious measures to stop the pandemic in and out.
Great. So, Madam Ambassador, we're done with the questions, but we just want to know you better. So who is the personality behind the position? I mean, if you were to go deeper to understand who Madam Ambassador is, what she likes, the kind of hobbies that she really enjoys, the human behind the position.
I think that's the most difficult thing to talk about is oneself, because I don't look at myself behaving, so you should probably ask my staff. I really don't know. I'm just a civil servant who is dedicated to her country and the public service, and I think it's an amazing opportunity to be able to build bridges between my country, that of course I love, and Africa, that I have grown up loving as well. What I think is the most important is that even though you will thrive, your values have to remain the core roots, and really, really cherish them, because that's what makes you so special.
And this will be Alvi there, the French ambassador to Ghana, ending the marketplace with me, Charles Aite. For more news, do log on to myjoyonline.com/business. Many thanks once again for watching. Enjoy the rest of the holiday.